Welcome to Career Spotlight provided by Educational Opportunity Centers, EOC. My name is Bill Leonard. I'm an academic specialist with EOC, and I'll be your host on this career exploration and discovery journey. The objective of Career Spotlight is to learn about careers from industry professionals in an effort to educate students and the general public so they can make more informed career decisions. The career we are highlighting today is Career Services Professional. I am excited to be joined by Katharine Marianacci, Associate Director for the Center for Career and Professional Development at Lehigh University. Welcome, Katharine.
Hi, Bill. It's great to be here with you today. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for joining me. I'm very excited about this. Katharine, why don't you introduce yourself to our viewers?
Sure. So as Bill said, my name is Katharine Marianacci, and I'm the Associate Director and Engineering Career Coach at Lehigh University's Center for Career and Professional Development. And so I'll get into the specifics more later on about what exactly that involves, but at like an overarching level, I would describe it as my job to advance the career success of Lehigh students by helping them land internships and jobs and really realize their potential as far as their career goes. And in addition to my role at the Career Center, I'm also working towards my master's in counseling psychology at Lehigh part-time, almost done with that. And I am a proud 2017 grad of Wilkes University, where I earned my bachelor's in psychology.
Excellent. Thank you for joining us. So Katharine, what does a career services professional do at a college or university?
Great question. So like I said, at kind of a broad level, a career services professional helps students advance through what I'll call their career journeys. So we're there from everything from career exploration, so choosing a major, choosing a career path, to resume and cover letter writing, learning how to network, preparing for interviews, internship and job searching, salary negotiation, and so on. And so there's a lot of different ways that we guide students in those different areas. So of course, there's the one-on-one kind of counseling or coaching, as we call it, that's probably most commonly associated with career services. So, you know, one-on-one meetings where we're giving very individualized kind of support. But what I think a lot of people don't realize is that working in a college career center is a lot more than that too. So it's not only our job to help students on an individual level, but also to think kind of systemically about, well, how can we reach and influence all students across our institution and really integrate career education into the campus ecosystem. That's like a common phrase in the field. And so we do that through, one, I would say a lot of collaboration and partnerships because we can't do it alone. So we'll collaborate with professors to deliver career workshops and classes. We collaborate with other offices on campus to implement programming, career programming. We use a lot of technology and virtual resources to support in that. We do a good amount of marketing, communications to engage students in those kinds of things. There is a pretty significant employer engagement piece to the role as well, where we're building relationships with employers to get them interested in hiring our students and helping those employers build their brand on campus. We also do some data analysis, you know, trying to track how students are engaging with us and how we can improve, as well as we track where students end up landing for their first destination after college. So a lot of different pieces to the job, which for me makes it challenging and exciting, but at the core of it is, you know, supporting students in their career development.
That sounds so fun and cool to me. To give our students or the viewers some context, like how many people are in your office or department, and sort of how big is Lehigh University student population?
Yeah, so there's about 12 people working in my department. There are several who are my counterparts working mainly in a student-facing role. We also have some people who are specific to the employer engagement side, some people who are specific to coordinating and managing our job posting and career management platform. But there's 12 of us total, and we all kind of have the same overarching goal, but help reach that in different ways. And Lehigh student population, we have about 7,000 students, the majority undergrad, but we also have master's and PhD students as well.
Great, thank you. So what was your career pathway to working in career services? Are there specific steps you took? Did you know from a young age this is what you wanted to do, or did you fall into it?
Yeah, so while I was an undergrad at Wilkes, I toyed around with a lot of different career ideas. So I thought about broadcasting, I thought about social work, maybe going for my PhD, becoming an academic. But by the time of maybe junior, senior year, I did feel pretty certain that this is what I wanted to do. I wanted to work in career development in some capacity, but ideally in higher education. I was fortunate enough to have had some great mentors at the Career Center at Wilkes who introduced me to the profession as an undergrad, and had the opportunity to be a teaching assistant for a career course at Wilkes too. And so once I had the introduction and had it in my mind that, this is what I think I want to do, I did start to seek out some opportunities that I knew would prepare me for that. So I interned in HR for a semester, working on talent acquisition kinds of things. I interned at EDSI for 2 summers, which is a workforce development company, helping unemployed workers find jobs. Absolutely loved that experience, and also decided to apply to grad school and go for my master's in counseling because that's a credential that fits pretty well with the profession. And so for my master's, I decided to come to Lehigh, and in my first year, I had what's called a practicum experience at the Career Center as part of my academic program. And that for me really solidified that, this is the right career path. It seemed like a place where I could really fit in and really bring all of my strengths. And so when my prac ended at the Career Center in the spring semester, I wanted to stay involved in any way I could. So there was an opportunity that following summer for me to be like a part-time career consultant, creating some career videos. So, I happily did that. And then over that same summer, a full-time position, my current position, ended up opening up. And so went for it and was ultimately offered the job. And taking the position really changed the course of what I had planned for myself, because I still had over a year left of my master's at that point, including an internship requirement. And so taking the job required that I really shift around my plans. I am still finishing up my master's, like I mentioned. But as you know, Bill, careers are not ladders, careers are jungle gyms. I love that quote. And so, didn't follow this like linear planned path that I had for myself. But that's okay, and I'm glad that I did take a little leap of faith and really maximize on an opportunity that presented itself rather than doing, what was easy or what I expected to do. So a little piece of advice for the listeners too. But yeah, here I am now, and I've been in my position for almost 2 years at this point, and definitely see myself staying in the field into the future too.
Great. So for someone who maybe does want to get into career services, what are some potential pathways? I was originally, thinking about this interview, assuming a human resource background or work experience, maybe some workforce development, maybe some internships. And it sounds like those are all things that you've done. Are those some career pathways that someone could look into?
Yeah, absolutely. I think all of those that you mentioned fit really well. But I've also seen people come at it from a lot of different paths. So I have several colleagues who worked in education prior to joining the Career Center. So they were teachers or administrators at schools. I also have a colleague who worked in admissions, so another facet of higher ed. Some other colleagues and just people I know out in the field who started this as like a second career pivot after working in the corporate world or human services or whatever it might be. So yeah, I don't think there's one particular path you need to follow, but some experiences that might set you up nicely for it. If you're a current student, I would say the best step is to get involved in your school's career center. A lot of career centers have interns or career ambassadors or volunteer opportunities. So if you're thinking about this path as a current student, getting involved in your career center is a must. And if you're graduated from college as an alum, there might be opportunities to go back and volunteer at your alma mater's career center. My counterpart who works with graduate students actually did that with us. So she volunteered at different events before a position even became available. And so then when one did and she applied, we all knew her and had some familiarity, and it gave her a unique advantage. So yeah, definitely getting experience in an actual career center is the best way to prepare to work in a career center. But I also think, like you said, Bill, human resources, especially recruiting, talent acquisition, can be a really good translation. I saw that you had interviewed Christy Spinello for one of these too.
Yeah.
She's a talent acquisition specialist at Fort Lawson, and she and I actually work together pretty closely to connect Lehigh students with opportunities at Fort Lawson. So maybe those listening would like to pop over and listen to Christy's interview to learn about that too. But yeah, then besides that, I think like you said too, Bill, workforce development, another industry that aligns. So maybe like where you're at, educational opportunity centers, or EDSI, the workforce development firm where I mentioned I interned. Maybe other opportunities within PA CareerLink or like a Job Corps, or even the Department of Labor. All of those I think could prepare you well for working in career services too.
Great. So let's talk about education right now. Obviously, at EOC, we're very big on promoting education. Thinking about your Lehigh University colleagues and maybe some colleagues just from other universities, is there a typical level of education that people in career services have, whether that be associate degrees, bachelor's, or master's? I think it's helpful to know sort of what's common in an industry to give students an idea of what maybe they need to prepare for.
Yeah, so most career services professionals will have a master's degree. There may be some more like operational kinds of positions that might require a bachelor's, or some like really senior positions where a doctoral degree might be preferred, but for the most part, it is master's.
Okay, great. And here's a question I love to ask. What is the best part of your job? What do you absolutely love about what you do?
Yeah, great question. So there's a lot of things I love about my job, but if I had to pick the top one, I would say it's being able to meet and build relationships with people from such a diversity of backgrounds. So I work with students from literally all over the world. So students from China and India and the West Coast, students from some of the wealthiest backgrounds to students from really underprivileged backgrounds. I work with faculty, so professors who are like leading academics in their field, studying things that are so outside of my realm, like chemical engineering or physics or energy systems. And I also work with a lot of different kinds of employers. So a lot of recruiters and engineers and business people from all different kinds of companies, from, small startups to huge corporations. So I have, I think, the privilege of interacting with all these different kinds of people. And it's just fascinating. I'm constantly learning. And it allows me to wear a lot of different hats too. So I think, one of my top strengths as, a person and a professional is being able to relate to a lot of different kinds of people. And I just love that I'm able to really exercise that in my job. So yeah, I would say that's my favorite part.
Great. Now on the opposite end, how about the most challenging part of working in career services? What is, whether it's most challenging, most unpleasant, most difficult, what would that be for you at least?
Yeah, so I would say that the most challenging part is probably the variety, which is kind of a similar answer to what I gave for my favorite part, but it's because there's, both good and bad to everything, I think. So like I mentioned earlier, there are a lot of different elements to working in career services. We're, counselors, we're coaches, we're presenters, we're writers, we're event planners, and that variety can be pretty amazing. It personally keeps me engaged, but it can also be pretty hard, to switch gears so frequently and to manage such a wide array of responsibilities. It's certainly not for everyone. So something to think about if you're considering the profession.
Sure. How about continuing education or professional development for somebody in career services? Is it a requirement, or maybe is it just something that's highly encouraged? What can people looking to enter this profession expect?
Yeah, so there's no required continuing ed, but I do think that it's so critical because our world is really rapidly changing. So industry trends and job market trends shift. There are generational differences between students every couple of years as far as how they learn and what appeals to them. Hiring trends are constantly changing too, as far as how employers approach the hiring process and what they look for in resumes and how they screen candidates and all of that. So continual professional development, I think, so important. And we'll do that through, reading articles or watching webinars, going to conferences, through different professional associations mainly. So there's NACE, the National Association of Colleges and Employers. There's the Career Leadership Collective. There's CEIA, the Cooperative Education and Internship Association. So those are some that I'm most involved with, but there's others too, and would recommend to anyone thinking about career services that you check out the content on some of those websites and try to join some of the different professional associations. And there's some different like certification programs you can do too, like becoming a board certified career coach or a certified resume writer, that kind of thing, which I haven't personally done yet, but it would be a nice additional credential to make you more marketable too.
Sure. And I love talking about skills and asking about skills that are in demand, thinking about, people or soft skills and also technical or hard skills. So, in your opinion, at least in your experience, what skills are important for someone to possess to be successful in career services?
Yeah, so I think the most essential skills are probably communication skills, written, oral communication, because I think that transcends everything we do in a university career center. So coaching, presenting, outreach, etc. And along those same lines, relationship building, another important skill. It's at the core of what we do. Professionalism is another key one, I think, as well, because we are teaching students how to become professionals. So in a way, we kind of need to be the epitome of that and need to model that in order to teach them. Adaptability as well with the varying roles and responsibilities. I think problem solving, basic technology, a strong work ethic, being a lifelong learner, all those things are really important, as far as like the more soft skills go. And then there are also some more industry specific kinds of skills that can be learned. So, resume and cover letter writing, interviewing, networking, job and internship searching. There's some different technologies and career platforms that we use and need to be proficient in. So there's some field specific skill sets as well as those more transferable skill sets that you'll need. But I think if you're starting out with the soft skills I mentioned and you're motivated, then the rest will come and can be learned.
Great. I think it's so important for people to know. So what is the one thing that you now know about being a career services professional that you wish you knew when you started, about 3 years ago in this profession?
Sure. So even though I had a lot of internships and a lot of professional experience before starting my role at Lehigh, This was and is my first real full-time job. And my entire life up to that point was school. So I guess I wish I knew before coming into it that things in the working world are much more ambiguous than with school. Like with school, things are very structured. You're given very clearly, what assignments you should work on up front. Those assignments have a set deadline. If you do well on them, you'll, receive an A, and, you progress through different grades and through college and for me, graduate school, and that's your path kind of lined up for you. But, in the working world, it is very different. And that's not just in career services, but I think for most professionals too.
Sure.
Like a lot of times you need to create your own assignments. There's no one, laying out for you what you need to do. Sometimes you don't have a set timeline, or, you don't always get an A on the assignment, even if you work really hard. Priorities change, and as your career moves on, it's very kind of open-ended and unknown, just much less structure than school. And I did get a taste of that, like I said, through my internships and things, but didn't fully grasp it until I started my job. And that was a transition for me. And, I see that happening with a lot of the students that I work with too. So I guess the thing that I wish I knew, about the working world is that it's much less black and white, and to kind of expect that ambiguity, and to lean into it, and to lean on mentors and experienced professionals for guidance on how to navigate. So a little piece of wisdom too, I think, for especially younger listeners and student listeners.
Sure. So if any of our viewers are, thinking about entering career services and pursuing that field, is there any advice that you would like to give them?
Yeah, so my advice would be to absolutely gain experience in the field to see if it's the right fit for you, and to build up your relevant experience. It's one thing to research the profession or listen to me talk about it, but you don't really know what it's like until you get out there and try it. So I would recommend, like I mentioned before, volunteering with your school's career center, setting up informational interviews, shadowing experiences with career services professionals. So my best advice is to get out there and try it, make sure it's right for you, and develop your related skills. And, for those who do think it's a fit, I'm of course biased, but I personally feel that it is one of the most meaningful professions a person can have. I think our careers are such an important part of who we are, and to be part of someone's journey and, finding success and fulfillment in their careers is really rewarding, and just important work, I think.
Great. And my final question, is there anything else that you would like to say to our viewers about your profession? Anything maybe we haven't covered?
I think we covered a lot of good ground, Bill. But, if you are considering career services as your profession, I would be happy to talk more and to answer questions and give more guidance. So the listeners can find me on LinkedIn and reach out to me there. I'd be happy to talk.
Excellent, thank you. So Katharine, on behalf of Educational Opportunity Centers, I want to thank you for sharing your experiences and your knowledge and your passion for career services. To me, it's an exciting and impactful profession, and I'm sure our viewers learned a lot from you. So again, thank you so much, Katharine.
Thank you, Bill.
Have a good day.